Welcome to the Instinctive Influencers podcast, a show where influence becomes one of your tools for success. Now, here are your hosts, Brian Weber and Ed Haley.
Hi, I'm Brian. Oh, and Ed's not here today because I get to sit down with these awesome guys. Today, I decided to invite a few friends over, some guys I've met, and I'm going to introduce each one as we go through, and kind of show you where we met and how we're all interconnected somehow, some way. It's pretty cool. But what we're doing is, actually, I call this because we're all aviation guys. We're all in the aviation field. So we're going to call this as the Rotors turn. You guys know how that's like at an aviation unit. So with this, before I get totally into this, I just want to make sure anyone listening and watching understands that everything we say in here is our opinion. It's only our opinion, and we only represent ourselves. We do not represent the United States Army, the United States government, or anything like that. So everything that we state is how we feel about it. So with that, let's get started. I got Matt right here. I got Mark, and then I got Chad. Let's start over first with Chad. Chad, tell us where you're from and how long you've been in the Army, man.
So I grew up just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, in a small town called Amelia. I've been in the Army now. So December 2nd last year, I just hit 20 years active federal service. What's kind of funny is I did a full 8-year stint in the reserves before I ever went active duty.
8 years?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I joined. I joined in 1994.
Yeah.
That's when I went to basic and AIT.
Yeah.
And then after 9/11, I decided that I was still single, working at a factory.
Yeah.
And I just thought, you know what, if we're gonna go to war, I'm there. I'm already trained.
Nice.
So there you go.
Oh wow. So I think we can say, since he just said it, he's probably the old man in the room, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. All right. Mark, tell us where about yourself real quick.
I am from New Jersey originally. Throughout the years, my accent's mostly gone away, except when I say something like coffee, and my wife loves that. Been in just over 22 years now. Actually, 22 years this week.
Nice.
And
okay, all right, Matt, give us your info, man.
All right. Don't worry about it. That's fine. All right, so I'm originally from San Diego, California. I've been in the Army now for 18 years. I came in a little bit late. I turned 25 in basic. Yeah. So I've had a few different jobs in the Army. I came in as a cook, and I changed over to aviation. So
wise decision.
Yeah, it was. Tell you what, though, I got my work ethic from being a cook. It's
I bet
it's
It's
rough.
hard.
I'll say it's rough. That's a nice way of saying it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So,
It's hard work, man. I always said so cooks, MPs, and aviation maintenance guys or gals, soldiers. They work the hardest out of the Army. I'm not trying to disparage any other force, but it's nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a break.
Yeah.
I came in as a combat engineer, and we played hard. We worked hard, but there was always downtime in our calendar.
Yeah.
You're a cook. You're an MP. You're an aviation maintenance guy. It doesn't happen, right? It is nonstop.
Well, and if you think about it, guys, like we're really driving into this, and we're going to get to the instinctive response in a minute. But you think about it, like in a sense, we have to do what's like considered one type of job, but we also have to do the soldier side of things, right? So it's like, how do you maximize that time to get into things? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man. Hey, well, hats off to all you. So to give you an idea, the way we're kind of interconnected, Chad was actually in Korea while I was. We weren't like right together all the time. He worked up at the division while I was at a lower echelon. Marcus, I actually met. We did a RIP. I didn't really meet. We met in passing. It wasn't, man, I'm knocking this thing around. But we were in Afghanistan. We basically replaced each other in Afghanistan. And then Matt, I met here. And we have associated with people that we know. You had a battalion sergeant major, and that I knew. He was a sergeant major with me over there. So just kind of looking at things, we're going to actually get into, this is the fun part. This is what I always find to be fun, especially when we have people on the show. We're going to get into what's called instinctive response, gentlemen. And with instinctive response, I give you a question. You answer as fast as you can with the best answer in your head. All right. Chad, give me a number 1 through 3,000.
Ooh, I got to go with 3,000.
Oh, no
I
one.
mean, Andre 3000, right?
Yeah. All right. So when you're sick, do you grin and bear it or just curl up in bed as much as possible?
Depends on the sick, but for the most part, I grin and bear it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I turned into a real sissy when I got COVID. By the way, we're all tested. We're good. Marcus, give me a number.
1.
Oh, man. That's the easy one. Let me get. Okay. What is your idea of perfect happiness? That's a tough question, bro.
I would say a lot of family around.
Yeah.
A lot of good food and maybe sports on in the background, kids running around.
Okay. All right. Okay. Matt, it's your turn.
24.
24. All right. Well, let me get to 24. So the good thing is 24 is really close. What do you most value in your friends?
Honesty.
Honesty.
I want people who are real. Like I don't want folks who are just trying to buddy up or are purposely trying to compete in a negative way.
Yeah.
I want honesty. People are going to tell me when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And also pat me on the back when I do something right.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
I definitely won't pat you on the back that much. No, I'm just joking. And I think I'm hoping.
Rule, you know?
Yeah. Reframe talking about. Oh yeah. So hey, the rest of you guys each get to pick your number that time. The rest of them, it's just straight up. I'm just gonna throw you a question. All right, Chad. Have you ever touched a snake, or would you?
So yeah, I have, and I've actually got kind of a funny story. So my wife and I had a chance to go to Thailand, and we went to one of those snake shows, and this guy pulls out like a 20-foot king cobra.
Okay,
right, and I don't know if it was exactly that long, but it was huge. And I'm sitting up in the bleachers, and this guy's got this king cobra down there, and he wanted me to get out of the bleachers and come down and touch it. And he says to me, "Come on, big boy, you get lucky." And I said, "Mate, I'm lucky enough right where I'm at. I'm not coming down there." Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've handled different snakes,
Okay.
but I definitely, you're not going to see me like on the, what's that guy, the Turtle Man? You're not going to see me going out and getting crazy with the wildlife.
Turtle Man?
Yeah, you've never seen him?
No.
Yeah.
He's in Kentucky. And he jumps into ponds and creeks and all kinds of stuff. He'll catch snakes. He catches turtles.
Yeah, big old snap.
Oh, he's like a
Mainly.
redneck Steve Irwin or
Oh
something?
yeah.
Oh yeah. What was he go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, you gotta watch him. He's on. Yeah,
he's out of control.
All right, so here we go. Say, Mark, fill in the blank. Working blank hours a week is too much for me.
18.
A week?
Oh, a week.
Oh,
I was thinking a day.
I'm like, dang, man.
That's good.
I want to know your job.
I guess 60.
60. Yeah, I could do. I think we already do that.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure. If you count PRT, stuff like that, we do that. All right, Matt. Do you still watch cartoons? If so, which ones?
Hell yeah. Man, I get on YouTube and I watch Transformers.
The old one?
Yeah, the old one.
Okay,
Generation 1. Yeah.
So I find Netflix has done a real good job with the new Voltron. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I started and never finished it.
Love that show, man.
That He-Man was
cool.
really good. The Kevin Smith He-Man.
He doesn't
Really?
like it.
Yeah, I really like it.
I did too. Cause like I don't know. I felt connected in a certain way, and it gave me something that I didn't have as a child.
Yeah, the first part was a little bait and switch. I was a little off, but I thought the story was really good. The story and the character development was really good. And it was very nostalgic.
Yeah.
You got to stick to the original. When they went all in a way, I was like,
I'm more like you. Like
Goodbye.
I like when something is set in my mind as a classic.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to touch it.
like I'm still hoping they fix this Star Wars thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
That'd
be nice.
You know, it was all a dream. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, I'm okay with that. Moving on.
Yeah, exactly.
Luke wakes up from like a coma or something.
All right, so hey, we've already kind of figured out you're the old guy in the room, right?
So
here's
maybe. So he came in basic at 25. So did I, and I came on active at 25.
I'm 43. I'll be 40. I'll be 44
Yeah, I'm the old guy.
this year.
I know you
Yeah.
were. Yeah. So with that, your question is, how do you feel about growing old?
I mean, obviously, there's mixed emotions. On one end, I appreciate I think I appreciate things better now than I ever did. It was, in I would argue that probably earlier on in my youth, especially early on as a soldier, I probably wasted a lot of time, and I tend not to do that now. I tend to be more focused, more goal oriented, and so I think from that aspect, I really like it. The other, I mean, I get aches and pains in places now that I honestly I like. I mean, as people age, people always kind of say that, but it's real. Like, you know, I don't know what it's like. My shoulder has been killing me ever since I got to El Paso, and I don't know why. I don't necessarily have a specific thing of trauma, but that's probably the aspect that I don't like about getting old. But in general, I think it's been better than just trying to stay young.
I feel you, bro. Because I'm about to go through a surgery, and I'm just so worried.
Yeah,
I'm like, how long is it going to take me? Well, you know what? It's time to move on to Marcus. Marcus, what memory from your school days still trouble you?
I can't even really remember.
At one time, you got shoved in the locker, or no?
Yeah, well, which time?
I didn't mean to say that. All right, Matt.
Oh, Lord.
I think I know. Well, maybe I don't know this one. What is your worst brain fart moment ever?
Worst? Oh man, I don't know.
Oh, I can answer that all day.
Oh,
right now.
Yeah,
it's hard to talk.
I don't even know on that. Like, it's crazy. No, I don't have a good answer for that. I've done so many dumb things. Like, it doesn't even like, which one's a brain fart, which was just a bad decision. Like,
it's awesome.
I don't really have a good answer to that. I'm sorry.
I love this book. So this book, my wife and I, we bought this. I can't remember where, but we wish we'd have had this book on our ride home back from Tennessee. Like it'd be just like we sit there and we actually went through, I think, the first 5-6 pages of it to ask each other questions just for the fun of it. Do you prefer chicken, beef, or seafood?
Seafood.
Why?
So sushi is my favorite. And I can eat. It doesn't matter whether it's nigiri or it really doesn't matter how it's prepared. But fresh Pacific seafood.
Pacific.
Yeah,
Atlantic. We're not saying specific.
Yeah,
we're saying Pacific.
Yeah, Pacific. And I say that because there's definitely a difference between what the seafood that I've had that's come from the Atlantic and the seafood that I've had that's come from the Pacific. There's a cleaner, saltier taste that's in the Pacific.
You think so?
Yeah.
So I'm a Maine guy, man, and I love Maine lobster.
Well, so lobster, obviously, you're kind of relegated to like the Alaska, Maine kind of geographical areas. But when you're talking tuna,
shrimp,
tuna and shrimp and stuff, and like, oh man, in Australia they call them prawns, and man, I mean they're as big as your finger, man.
Yeah.
And it just it just melts in your mouth. It's delicious.
Let's put this on pause and go eat.
Right? Hey. So, quick question: do you make it? Do you make sushi?
No.
Do you make sushi?
I've never tried.
No. That doesn't count as your questions, guys. I got specific ones for you. So I didn't either until I had one of my soldiers say, "Hey, you got to get this thing called the sushi bazooka." So no joke. Get on Amazon, man. Search sushi bazooka, and it's this tube thing. And you fill it with rice, and you fill like inside the rice, and you put rice in the side. You flip it over, you lock it in, and you screw it out, right? And when you screw it out, you put it on screw it out on a piece of seaweed, and then you just roll it, and then you cut it. And the knife that came with it, my wife will tell you this, gentlemen. The knife that came with that is the sharpest knife we have in our house. It is amazing. I cut anything with. Anyways, I digress. All right, here we go, Marcus. This one I want.
Right there,
I seen these two questions, guys, as he was kind of talking there, and I wasn't ignoring. I was loving what you're saying, but I thought this is definitely a question for each of you. Each question. So the first one, Marcus, what was the name of the first album you ever bought, and who was the artist? Because I've always been curious about this.
I don't know about bought, but
did you steal it?
No. Well, timing wise, my favorite album to this day is "Bat Out of Hell." Of course, Meatloaf died with 2 years ago.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
And so did Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
Is
it fat guy, or is it something? It's something Armstrong.
His name.
Remember?
His name was Robert Paulson.
It was a cartoon. Remember,
his name was Robert Paulson.
It was right. His name was Robert Paulson. Meatloaf. Yeah.
But yeah, Bat Out of Hell, hands down.
That's funny.
All right. Where was it? There we go. Here's yours, man. And this is because I've watched you.
Oh,
so
this is wonderful.
Come up with an analogy to compare your driving skills to something. Because I see. So before we go any further, big truck, really big truck. You drive a big truck? You drive a sedan. Yeah. So, and I've seen, but this thing, I've seen him whip in here with that big truck in the mornings with the garage is open. I'm like, he thinks he's late or something. We're not starting without him because he's worked out with me a few times. So
that's cool.
Anyways, an analogy, man. Come on, give us one.
I am trying to.
Speed racer? What?
No. I don't zip. Dude, the thing's not fast. I don't zip around. It just looks like it,
Yeah.
But this is terrible. Whatever analogy can come up with distracted, because half the time I'm in the vehicle, my brain is running. So I'm like in a different place, and it's
different.
auto. It's like it's on autopilot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
that's why I always have a script, because if I don't have something to keep me on track, I'll. But then again, I also get like diarrhea of the mouth.
And yeah, these exits are killing me, because when you're distracted, you miss one. You got to go all the way down, then all one way everywhere. It's not like anywhere else.
Yeah, I will say that I'm not a fan of the road network in El Paso.
No, it's crazy. And my wife, so hey, when we, is that 54 or 52?
54.
Yeah.
The one that goes north?
No, you're talking about the one right out here.
Yeah.
I drive it all the time.
Is that 52?
That's 52
Oh,
right there.
52. So 52, then it connects into 10. But you ever notice like all those bridges? My wife, she'll sit there and she'll grab the you know what handle and be like, and she'll just stare at me and she won't look out. And I'll be like, hey, look, and she's like, we're on a roller coaster. Stop, So, but yeah, I don't like the network of roads here.
Yeah, it's not
but
my favorite.
I like to get out and away too. I mean, Matt's been on a few hikes with me, and I've seen you a couple places here and there.
Hiking.
Yeah, going out and hiking, because this place is just amazing. Like, to get to do stuff. You have small children. I understand that. I have 2 children who now are not small. And I told my wife the other day, I was like, hey, it's so nice to have children that can walk on their own, and I don't have to carry all their stuff. They can carry it for them. So we give them Camelbacks, and we tell them, fill your snacks, whatever you want, but that's all you're getting because you're carrying it.
You got young ones?
No.
No,
okay.
No kids. You just got married how many years ago?
Going on 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
She's got kids, but they're full grown and gone, so it's just me and her.
It's just
okay.
He lives down the street, actually, and so does Chad.
Yeah.
So
just right around
you're the one that lives over in the trailer park.
Trailer park.
He lives in a
Are you
camper.
doing the RV?
Yeah, I bought an RV.
That's awesome.
I bought a fifth wheel to come out here with.
My wife and I, depending on if we stay CONUS for this PCS, we might switch to that.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about doing.
Yeah, totally. It's absolutely doable.
Right. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. He used to work with me in one of my old units. You get a chance, we can write this down later.
Yeah.
Highway Therapy.
Okay.
He has a YouTube channel, guys. It's amazing. Like, he's really good at all this stuff. He actually sets up stuff like electronic wise. Like, he goes into places and sets up the TVs that have the electronic menus, all that stuff. He travels all around the country. He's going to school. His wife is going to school, I think, also, and then both his children go to school online, and they just use the Wi-Fi, and they're called full timers.
Yeah,
you got to check it out.
I think it's a great way to go, man. We can get out, see the country,
freedom.
Yeah,
honestly, you're not tied
I'll tell you,
down.
the biggest holdup, honestly, is the price of the truck.
So
gas.
That's why before I left, I actually bought them as one piece. So I got a 2008 3500, but it only had 80,000 miles on it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I got that and the trailer for like 65,000. So
Perfect.
I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Perfect.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's what I said when he told me. I was like, man, that's insane. So as we digress, because we go down rabbit holes easy, we're going to get into a few different topics. All 3 of these gentlemen all go to school with me. We go to school here to a military school. It's kind of like the last one you can do in the enlisted world. So some of the questions you guys already seen, it kind of references back to stuff we learned or stuff in your career. And the whole point we really want to do is just kind of like, I want to be able to show like the diversity we may or may not have, and to kind of show people, hey, listen, it doesn't mean just because I disagree with Matt or I disagree with Marcus on something or Chad, I don't Doesn't mean I dislike you. Maybe I learned something and I try that, So, and that's what we often try to do is with the whole point of the Instinctive Influencers, it's to kind of be an influence to be better help somebody out and become better. I'm just waiting for you to say longtime listener, first time caller. That's whenever it comes in. Okay. Marcus listens all the time. Now the other two, I don't know. And then we have Grogu. He probably will say nothing. Actually, if you squeeze his hand, he'll say something. Yeah. That was a gift from my in-laws.
He's not done.
I know he's fun. So as a gift from my in-laws, we were in the store one day and they were asking, "Hey, what's everybody want for Christmas?" And I was joking around. I held up that doll and said, "Just give me this," And next thing you know, I unwrapped it. That's what I got.
That's awesome.
Score.
Yeah. I also got some other cool stuff. But
he really brings the room together, though. I mean, he's the focal point here.
It is. I mean, hey. He looks better than the rest of us.
Oh, yeah, definitely me.
All right, guys. So what we'll do is, we just kind of do discussion, talk what you want, like give each other a chance. But we're just going to go through these. What are some of the things you feel like you have gained over the time while you're here at school? What are some of the things?
I would say, hands down, the biggest is refined written communication skills.
Learn how to write?
Yeah, and I was always a pretty good writer, fairly good.
Yeah.
But just the active versus passive, the just more, just kind of refined written skills, be able to organize it better, like transitions as opposed to random ideas spread throughout. So, yeah, definitely the amount of writing.
Yeah, that could be it. You guys, about writing, did you take anything from writing or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely come a long way. It was probably my biggest fear before coming here because I've always doubted my written communication ability.
Yeah,
and so I was very apprehensive, very nervous. Signed up to do the pre-course.
Did you do it?
Yeah,
I did too. Did you do it?
No, because
that's
I was
right. You didn't. I took your spot.
Yeah. I didn't want to take on too much. I figured, and masters took priority the pre-course.
Yeah.
So what it sounds like is I didn't really miss anything too much. But
yeah,
I don't know if you got a lot from it. Or...
So I felt like it was beneficial to me because I while I have done some writing in some college, there's just a different expectation here, I think. And in order to write well here, I think you have to understand what they're looking for, and the pre-course gave me that glimpse.
Yeah,
that's good.
How about you, Matt? Writing wise, how do you feel about it?
Well, I've been out of school since 2015. I really had no desire to go back. So it's honestly just been an inconvenience for me.
Yeah,
as bad as it sounds. I've scored well on everything. But it's I do this because you're expected to perform, so you have to perform.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that's what it is.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if you think about it, right? So if we dial back the notch, right, it is about pride too, right? I mean, it's when you get given something, like you said, hey, you're expected to perform. Sometimes we just like, all right, well, I'm going to give it my all and I'm going to go straight in. I mean, and I know that about your businesses too. And I wanted to, we'll talk some about that. So you two, he obviously brought up the writing. What, if it's the same, it's fine. But what are some of the things either one of you have gained this year so far?
So this is going to be a little different, but I've actually got a deeper appreciation for my family and for who they are and the strengths they have, because they're still in Savannah while I'm out here on my own.
Yeah.
And there's so many things, we've all been deployed like so many times, schools, everything, but my kids are all becoming adults now. I'll have 4 out of my 5 will be 18 by July this year.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So, and to watch them grow up and go through adult issues and bigger problems and not be there to have struggles like business struggles and have them have to step up. Is it like just the appreciation I have for them and who they're becoming has been very impactful for me, and actually it's caused me to miss them even more. That and then patience, because
I've seen it. I've seen it in class. Honestly, he's been in my classroom once.
Because I loved DAO. I really did. I learned all kinds of stuff.
It was fun.
Some other courses, not so much.
DCO.
So
you guys started in DAO?
Yeah,
that's where I met him. We were in the same core class.
Yeah.
I started DAO too.
I'm in DAO now.
Yeah, and I loved it. I did. I loved the instructors. It was great, and the classroom of individuals was wonderful. And just moving forward, the other things just kind of their review to me. They're all review. You know what I mean? And going through the emotions. So that patience you got to have to do that to a certain degree. It's kind of like going back through. If you sent me back through AIT, I'd be like, come on, man, don't make me do this.
Yeah.
You know,
You'll probably like Joint then. Because it'll
you
be,
started in Joint, right?
Yeah, I started in Joint, and Joint's different enough. Especially having the foundation from DAO, I think you'll probably actually get more out of Joint than I did, just from the standpoint that all of that was fresh material.
And that's how it was for me. I was like, I had to work. You know,
oh,
I couldn't just drag my feet. I had to work. In there.
There was a few times like we like, are you getting what I'm getting? Because I don't know what I'm getting, and like it was especially when we got into certain things like doing with the op orders and stuff. I'm like, I don't deal with it. Like in aviation, for instance. In aviation, we don't really deal with it so much because most of the time our op orders are dealing with what officers have to do, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll get, hey, you're tasked to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, got it. Let me run with it. But to give you guys an idea also, so he mentioned about his family and then dealing with business. So he actually, two Airbnbs? Is that what you have?
I got 2 Airbnbs and then 6 long-term rentals, basically.
So he does a lot of rental stuff, and his daughter, the one in Savannah, and that's the one in Savannah, right? I'm getting this right.
Yeah.
So his daughter though is running the really nice one. If you ever get a chance to go to Savannah, just stay one night in his Airbnb. I'm going to go ahead and plug that for him. But she's running it, and she's how old?
She just turned 19.
19 years old.
Wow, that's awesome.
She's running this business for him. So what I like about that, and this is what I like to see, is like that's reaching a new level of ownership on something or being up, because is she going to take it over down the road for him? You know, when he gets older and he's like, I'm done with this. Does she, you know, I don't know, you know what I mean? And do you know?
Well, it's development, just like we do with soldiers, right?
Yeah.
Like the difference is like when we talk about in class, how like we want to micromanage, we want to grab things. And in the Army, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. You do it. That's your job. I don't have a problem with delegation at all in the Army.
And empowerment, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. But at home, I struggle terribly with it. I do. Yeah. You know, and I call her up like, what the hell are you doing? I'm going to strangle you if you do that. You know, like there's certain things like, how do you not know
He doesn't
this?
really mean that. He's not going to strangle anyone. No.
Yeah.
It's all metaphorical.
It's all
metaphorical. All metaphors. All metaphors in here.
We're in different states, you know. Yeah. I don't have the force. But but no, it, you know, and that development of me as a person and as a leader, because my mom does the management on the cleaning side. She manages the cleaners to make sure they do it correctly. You know,
family business.
It's perfect. It's all about developing them, giving them opportunities. I didn't have that growing up. You know, my mom was a teacher, and my dad was an appliance man. You know, they just knew you make money and you spend it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't want my kids to go through that. I wasted years that I wanted to do stuff and didn't do it, and finally said, "All right, let's do this." Army made me frustrated enough one day. I said, "No, I'm going to set myself up." That's really cool. What happened. But
he's got me looking into it. He's got me looking into it hard.
It's about developing your kids so they're successful, but not just. I don't want to hand them anything. Like anything they do, they have to work for it.
Yeah.
So
that's good notes. I mean, it's kind of funny. We talked about that yesterday. My oldest is 7, and yesterday we started talking about like empowering her through work and how she could earn money through doing different odd jobs and stuff.
Right.
And she's like, well, why do I have to do that? You know? And so it's funny that all those points that you're making now, that's the why. And
it's funny how we go into the being fathers type thing. And Marcus, we understand. We got you. You know.
I had a dog once. How different could it be?
You can't. A dog you can lock in a cage. They frown upon it with children.
Not if you don't.
Some states they make it illegal.
It's what you brought up. We've actually had that conversation with Ethan. And Ethan's our oldest. I do have an older one. She's 21. From previous. But excuse me. With Ethan, we talked about starting his own bank account. He's like, he has a bunch of money in a little safe, and I'm the one that has a combination. There may or may not be money in there. I don't know. Not sure. But we talked to him about it, like, hey, maybe we start a bank account because he doesn't spend his money.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
Really
That's great.
Yeah, he's like, Eva, she says, I have 5 cents. I'm spending 5.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. But we'll see how we go. So yours was family, and I'll tell you what, I respect that because I understand we all understand what it's like. And I've gone to school before where I was away for months, not for almost a full year though, right? What do you got? What is something you could take away from this year?
So I think so far, one of the things that I've grown to appreciate is, sometimes you sit down at a lower level and you wonder why certain things can't get done.
Yeah.
And I think Department of DFM has really helped kind of highlight the way that things kind of matriculate down through the force and end up down at the user level, right?
Right.
And as somebody that's only ever been at the tactical level, it's hard to understand how all this stuff affects you and why there's so much, so I've really appreciated that. That's probably my favorite subject so far, is really getting into the meat and potatoes about how we design the force and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's been really good. And I would also add that what you've observed, I probably invested too much earlier on. I probably invested too much in the Army and probably didn't give enough at home. And that's one thing that's really kind of come to light for me on a personal level this year, because I am more with my family. I mean, especially in the virtual environment, like the benefit of being able to go downstairs at lunch and like feed my son, you don't get that when you're a first sergeant. You're trying to care for 400 other people's children.
Yeah.
And just connecting with that and seeing that for me it's kind of been a hard pill to swallow a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think, I've left my wife to carry all that baggage by herself.
It's
thinking that she's good, that she's got it.
Yeah.
And there's so much more I could do. And so I kind of wonder, I think it's really forced me to kind of analyze how much investment am I really supposed to put in both of these places. I mean, being a soldier is not a part-time job. And the mission is, this is going to sound cliche, but it's obviously very important what we do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But so is your family. And at the end of the day, when this is all said and done, your family's the only one that's going to be there for you.
That and these plaques, right? That's about it.
I do love my plaques, but not more than my family. It's funny you said that. And then you brought up your family too about, I was at a retirement ceremony for an old sergeant major. It was years ago. I think it was when I was recruiting. And he got up there and he started his speech. I think he got 10 words into it and he just started crying. And I'm like, what is, like, I was literally like, what is going on? Like, is there something, is he about to come out of the closet with some stuff that's bad?
Yeah.
And then it took him some while to compose himself. And he looked I get goosebumps, man. I get goosebumps as I talk about it. He looks over and there's 3 children and they're all grown-up children, right? And he looks over and he just starts talking to them. The audience is just gets to be there, right?
Yeah.
He's talking to them, and he's each one of them. I'm sorry, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that was moving. And so it's like, where do you draw that line? Where do you dissect those things? So yeah, man, hey, you both got me in that area. Something I gained this year? Friends, man. I've insane the relationships we built.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a good friend I'm going to hope to do another podcast with. I got a whole group that I've met through riding bicycles. It's just some of the people that I've learned to connect with that I never known before. I was like, man, this is just so awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's good to hear, it's good to hear these things, to kind of, we can reflect back on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't say I disagree. I mean,
oh, okay.
like I've always been the dude that stayed in his room when I was deployed. When we went, STXs, when I was with the 160th, I stayed in the hotel, did homework while everyone else was out having fun, and so this is the first time I've actually gone and interacted, and it's been valuable. Like Brian, after I'm done here, you're someone I'll still connect with. You know what I mean?
We've talked about it.
So
we're going to be accountability partners. Yeah.
It is great, man. A lot of the people I've just been blown away by how much respect that I have for some of the people that are here.
Yeah.
I obviously I think it's natural. You can't make it inclusive to everybody.
No,
it's impossible for everybody to always see eye to eye. But man, for the percentage, I think is it's way more people that I've met. I have a lot of respect and honestly hope for. Right. Because it's like, okay, great, man. Like, and whatever MOS, these people are in armor or they're in infantry and some of the things that the mentality that I grew up with thinking, oh, I'm going to meet these infantry guys at the school and they're going to be, pounding their chest and
it's different.
And they're not. I mean, they're humble guys. They're eager. They're smart.
Some of them are
like smart guys, armor guys, 42 alphas.
Yeah.
doesn't really matter what the field is.
Yeah.
The level of intellect is clearly there, and it just then it makes you kind of wonder, like, oh man, like have I done enough?
Like, I think to add on to that too is we've all, I think, gone through worked with people who are just cutthroat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And
yes,
there's still a percentage, but it's not as high as I thought it would be here. Honestly,
Yeah.
there's a lot of folks who do want to
It's
help
really
each
isolated.
other out.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that because we're all aviation. So, and we're basically competing against each other, right?
Sure.
But it never once did I say I felt like he was a threat. You were a threat, or you were a threat. I never felt that, and that's where but I was programmed that way coming in. Some people told me be prepared, and I'm like,
probably
no.
seen it, right? So like when I was a sergeant first class, and I was around, other first sergeants back then, and you'd see sort of the backbiting and man, I've been so blessed. Both of every setting I've been in, my peers at the master sergeant level, it didn't happen, guys. I mean, if it did, it was so sneaky. It was it just didn't happen. Guys were very transparent and supportive, and just it was more about the organization than it was about themselves.
Yeah, I think what it is we project. Also, we project that feeling.
I think it ties back to what Matt said earlier, and it's just honesty, right?
Yeah,
you don't have to fake the funk, be somebody other than what you are, right? Just being who you are.
Yeah,
and that's it.
And for some of us, like for me, I've always been that way, top to bottom. Like, I mean, you can see in class when you're with me. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes I'm gonna say things you really don't like. And other times you're gonna be like, "Wow, that was amazing. How'd you think of that?"
Thought provoking, Matt.
But
we move on. No.
Yeah, but it's gonna be the truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing with the instructors when they say something, and I'm like, "That's just not accurate. What you're saying right now, that is not what that means or how things go." So I think that's important, though.
I think it's a pretty good reflection too of how. And I know it's not perfect, and there's some people who get there who don't belong. But honestly, how good the Army promotion system is. I'll give me a second to back that
I was
up.
gonna say help me out, bro.
Right, because I mean, you look around, and our peers. I was told a bunch of different things too. Hey, be careful, low caliber, this or that. But as we're getting into discussions, I'm hearing like everyone has the right mentality that the Army wants, which is different from when we first came.
Oh, definitely.
You know what I mean? Soldier first, caring, servant leadership, compassion, and all that stuff. And I really haven't met anyone who, when these conversations come up, they're like, well, yeah, but the old Army was better. Sometimes you just need to make soldiers scared of you, blah, 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 like that. I don't really feel that in our peers. And I feel that is a reflection of the Army really kind of weeding that old mentality out. And, again, some people get there and it's like, how did you get here? You don't belong. But I think overall that, the system does, gather those like us who've adapted to the right way, which is the way the Army's been moving. So
and I think this will take me into the next question also. I think also it's on us, not just us, but then the people we teach and the people they teach and the people that, what I mean, that trickle effect, that train the trainer, that learn, be taught and all this stuff, that we teach people how to go about things. You know what I mean? Like that's on us. That is, I literally take that as like a responsibility that's not said, hey, it's your responsibility to make sure but I take it as my responsibility if you think about it, but with that, so we're going to go to the next question I brought up was, what are some of the biggest changes you have made in your leadership since joining the Army? Like basically you probably came in with one type of mindset. Now you're at a different type of mindset. What do you think those are, guys?
I'll speak for myself. The younger me, right? So I'll go to like Corporal Kearns, which will be very funny to some people.
Did you come as a corporal? Active?
No.
Oh,
so I made weird. Corporal later, and man, I was unrelenting.
Ruthless.
It didn't matter, man. I was never going to provide any level of empathy on any subject whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I get that.
There was no understanding. If there was a layout and we're doing it at 0630 and a soldier showed up and was missing a piece of kit, I mean, I'd probably be the first one ready to take and smoke that soldier forever.
Yeah.
Right. Attention to detail and adherence to standards was, and I'm not saying that I don't think that that's still important, but I've grown up enough now that I understand that that you have to be, there's got to be a tactical pause in any situation, right? You got to do some evaluation. You got to read the tea leaves, so to speak, and digest information. You can't just expect that every single thing is going to go perfect every single time. If you do, you're probably setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And so and your reaction to that is going to foster a specific environment, right? And so I'm not saying you should always be empathetic and give soldiers everything they think they want,
right?
But there's a level, there's a degree of understanding, right? That I think could be applied in most situations, that you could look at things and go, you know what, I got it. We're going to fix it. And here's how we're going to fix it, and instead of just coming over the top and thinking that, there's this zero tolerance environment where everybody's got to walk on glass.
Yeah.
It's just, that is, to me, that's not going to develop teams.
No,
because it doesn't develop trust from me as a leader. Right. They're not going to trust me. I'm never going to connect with them.
Got a good book about that.
Yeah.
Building cohesive teams. I mean, do you really need a book? But sometimes it's nice to have that reminder.
Yeah.
So what about you guys? What are you thinking?
When I joined the Army, I had no sense of leadership. I was 21, and I just had no idea or no sense or, no grasp on it because I never had to, I guess. And I was the young leader, which we were raised to be in that Army. The pre 9/11 Army was, it was different than today, but temper, yelling, cussing, it probably hit a lot of insecurity and lack of confidence, which you see that in leaders. That's because they're not confident in themselves. So the yelling, screaming is the response. But I definitely had a learning curve. And I'm very glad. I think the Army is overall designed to accommodate that. Buck sergeants aren't expected to be perfect. And there's a reason sergeants first class don't run everything at their level. One, it's too much, but because they have to, it's a trickle effect. You learn over time, you make mistakes. And so, I believe I've learned a lot and developed over time, but I always try to take that focus and make sure that, hey, was this an honest mistake? Was this a genuine mistake that this leader made? How should I respond? Because you don't want to crush them. Hey, you're just, you suck at being a leader. You don't have it. You want to help them grow. You want to make sure. But like I said, is it an honest mistake? Was that there's deviousness? Was there ethical issue here?
Yeah.
But I always try to help soldiers grow and learn, because if I wasn't given that opportunity, I never would have made it.
Yeah. You know what I wish somebody would have done with me when I was that pop off guy? Would have just pulled me aside and said, hey, listen, you're not going to grow. You're not going to attract more bees with vinegar. Why don't you use some honey?
Yep.
I wish somebody would have grabbed me. What about you, Matt? What do you got?
So I think it's a little different because, like I said, I turned 25 in basic. Prior to that, I had led sales teams. That's what I had done since I was 17, 18.
Sales? What do you mean by sales?
I worked at Foot Locker as a manager. I was one of those dudes in the mall. Hey, come get a phone. I was a district manager at 21, 22 years old. I was a district manager. You know what I mean? Opening new markets up in Seattle.
Yeah.
So I had that leadership experience, and I wasn't the yeller. I'd already gone through all that stuff. You know what I mean? I had that opportunity already to fail that way and to grow.
Yeah.
But I've been in the Army, the three major things I think that I've learned in leadership, and I know there's more than three, trust me, but just as we're sitting here talking about it, is one, give people a chance, because there's a lot of times I'd already decided you're not going to make it without actually giving them an opportunity.
Yep.
And I was wrong sometimes. And I even, when we had someone moving on to be a warrant officer, and I got to, he worked for me, I got to be the dude as a staff sergeant and be like, hey, I failed this guy.
Yeah.
He asked me why I wouldn't give him a chance. And I said, I don't know. Once I did give him that chance, man, he did a great job. You know what I mean? So give people a chance to succeed or fail, either way. You know what I mean? But give them a chance. Two, it's not always going to be my way. And that's something I still struggle with at times.
Yeah.
It's not going to always be my way. And doggone, the third one, I've learned it's not the best thing to do to act off my first impulse.
Yeah.
Every time I do that, I regret it.
Yeah.
Don't act off my first impulse. Wait, listen a little longer, because there's something you're missing.
That can be a thing.
Don't carry that message yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That can be a thing. I love what you brought up there. Like, with that whole not acting off your impulse, because that was my biggest problem. Just whatever, and it sucks to think back because I've had guys that come back and work with me that they went on to be warrant officers, right, and pilots and stuff, but they still treated me with respect. And I said, I don't understand why you treat me with respect. I didn't treat you with respect, and I'm glad that I have a relationship with them now.
Yeah.
But it's just, oh man, if I could just look, I wanted to be in charge because I was the guy that got to be in charge. That was why I wanted to be in charge from time, like being the platoon sergeant at basic training and AIT, doing those things. Like I didn't understand what it meant to be in charge. It's not about power. It's not about like all those things I thought it was about. It's not about. It's about being there for others, help. Like you work the longer hours. And does it suck sometimes? Yeah, it does. But I wish I would have known that then, and I've learned that over the years, and it just took time.
Yeah.
So, if given a chance to make a lasting change as a senior leader, what would it be? You're already ready. Mark's
I'm ready for
I'm
that.
doing it.
Twofold. One is reduce distractors so that the unit can just focus on their mission and training.
Right.
I've been told or I've heard that it's just the way it has been. It will always be that way. I refuse to believe that. I don't believe that all these little nitnoid things, all these little taskings, all these training, all these classes, all these things have to happen. I believe there are better ways to reduce it and to get it done. And the first one, hands down, would be to reduce those distractors so that NCOs can actually work with their soldiers consistently and not have them pulled left and right and gone. And
So be the filter.
Yes, yeah, a filter and like a fence, like to protect and shield the unit for that. And then the second would be to just develop a culture of growth. I mean, just where leaders feel comfortable to make mistakes, where they feel comfortable to grow, and that they're always determined to, hey, what's the most constructive way to do this? How can I teach someone something else? How can I make this a learning experience? And just to constantly grow and develop.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. I think what we've done over the last maybe 20 years is we've taught at certain echelons people how to be master reactors, not master strategists.
Yes.
Right. So if you look at even at the company level, right, going through and developing a really good, solid training schedule for that company, sometimes that could be really challenging because you may not have those distractors reduced enough to really get down to brass tacks and really focus on developing those soldiers. And the good thing I think is I think that message is there now. If we hear some of these speakers that we've listened to, and maybe it's due to fiscal constraints or whatever, it sounds like maybe we're going to be able to focus in a little bit on that.
We'll see.
But yeah, it's definitely a point of frustration.
Yeah.
I was trying to recently you published something. I can't remember what it was. It was on Facebook, and I was just trying to see if I could find it. There it is. I'm not going to say the words completely because there's a little cuss in it, but it says, if I actually spoke my mind, I'd be in deep, you know what? And I think I want to get rid of that. You know what I mean? Like I want somebody to feel comfortable to come speak their mind to me. And I've been trying to travel that way.
Sometimes the thoughts we have though they're not worth the words that you put into the air.
They are. Sometimes that is true, but I mean, even in our course, like there's a lot of times we're being told what to think and how to think, not be creative. And it's like, no, what you're saying, I am morally just against what you're saying right now. Every part of me says this is wrong.
Yeah.
And when we say that, like, no, you're wrong for thinking like, and that's I struggle. That's a huge struggle.
Yeah.
Man, you have to tell us that conversation later.
Yeah, definitely. No, believe me. I talked to Matt enough. Believe me, it's always an interesting class. I wish we were in more classrooms together. But it's funny though. We do get that different perspective from others. So I can look at that. I can look at that and say, not so much, because I think I've done that. I feel like, and I don't know if you guys have, where I've taken those different people in leadership positions and I pull in what I want, I reject what I don't want. And I think people can learn from that, and keep doing the same thing.
I think that's really good that you're able to do that. No, I do.
It's tough.
I'm saying I struggle with it because once you say enough things that don't jive with true, like I shut you down.
Yeah.
And mentally, I'm like, okay, here I am, but I don't have faith or confidence in you being a real person at this point.
Yeah.
And that's just me as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The what I usually try to cling to is, a good example would be we did in a unit not too long ago. I won't mention the unit, but
I usually don't mention units or
we
ranks.
we did a study, right, of
this is good.
where people were brought in and they were given certain areas to focus on, but the goal was supposed to be, how do we do distractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this happened at least twice over the span of 6 months, and the net result, to my knowledge, has been zero. Nothing's changed. Now, in that instance, after the second one and no change had occurred, then I shared my opinion, right? You're pulling people that are test saturated out to do a task that's an additional requirement. And so far, we haven't seen any changes, right? I don't understand the logic in that. I understand why it would be logical to do this analysis if we've seen a change or if we're going to implement a change. It doesn't make any sense to me to do this and continue to do this if we're not going to produce any change, right? But, there's the old adage, it doesn't do any good to die on your sword, to fall down on your sword if they're just going to pull it out of your dead body as they walk over you. I tend to employ that thought process a lot because I think, if I speak these words,
does it matter?
Is it going to have any sort of positive effect on the situation that I'm in?
Yeah.
Is it going to change anything? And if it doesn't mean I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that if it's not going to produce a result, I don't know that speaking it is going to lend any more truth to it.
Well, I got a good comment and story on that one, in the fact that it all boils down to picking and choosing your battles.
Right.
And in my last unit, I had a platoon leader, and he was he was a man of principles, which is not a bad thing. But it's,
depends upon the principles.
But it does depend on the principles.
Yeah.
And he felt like the battalion commander was not adhering to the COVID restrictions and policies and all that as much as the letter of the law said. I was open with my platoon leaders, platoon sergeants. They felt comfortable talking to me. He's like, first, I just, I feel like he's picking and choosing what we can and can't do. And he told the battalion commander this, and he was kind of where it was kind of looking at was like, he was like, is this something I should fight? I should argue? I should refuse to do? Blah blah blah. I say, if you feel it's right, you factor that in. But this is the thing: is that if all you do is like complain, when you have a really good comment, like he's saying, or you have this is the hill you want to stand on, it's just glossed over, it's ignored, because now you're just the person who always complains. Like, you're always stating the obvious, you're doing this, no one factors in. So you want to pick and choose your battles, so that when you stand up and when you say something, then it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, let me stop and listen. So, again, I can't tell you what to do. So that's kind of what I'm feeling from you too, is and sometimes you feel like you're compromising too much, or that you're not being honest because you need to say something. But again, the Army is just like life. There's so many issues. We could point things out nonstop. I mean, our soldiers do it all the time.
Oh yeah.
But then again, you just reduce your own credibility, I think, so that when you finally have a valid point, no one's going to listen. You're just background noise at that point. So you want to when you apply yourself, you want it to be like just a lot more value, a lot more boom. So
I think that was true when we were growing up, but I don't see that anymore. The loudest people are the ones that get the most.
It
change.
Seems like it.
It's not just seems. We see that in our whole nation.
There's a lot of validity in what you're saying, man.
Like I was the same way, to be honest, where I thought that, like, was I the squeaky wheel time? Sure. But okay, no one's listening anymore. And when I was in a different type of unit and there was just a certain type of person there, then that was honestly the truth. You didn't. You better say something important. But now, the louder you are, the louder you are, the louder you are, the more you say something. It doesn't matter how much truth is even in it. If it's emotionally affecting someone too much, or it's anything, then they're going to get that attention. They're going to, like, how many of us have even maybe been investigated for certain things or been looked into because somebody said something a bunch of times. It was nowhere near in your character. But yet still there you were on the hot plate, right?
Yeah.
So I do think it was that way, but in the transition to where we're at now, it isn't. And I see the same thing in our classes a lot of times.
I think to your point, man, when you say something, especially when somebody asks your opinion, it's critical that you're honest.
It is. And some of the things you don't want to say to people, you're planting good seeds that someone's just. How often do we see people aren't strong enough to really like when as soon as the battalion commander leaves, they want to have all the conversation in the world and say this and right. But when he asked them to their face or she asked them to her face, what do they say? Oh no, I'm good. Everything's good. No,
tea and crumpets.
You gotta plant those seeds and show that hey, you know what? I'm okay if I'm the sacrificial lamb and it helps somebody else in the future.
Yeah,
like okay, my life is okay. I got my wife, I got my kids, I got my business. You want to get rid of me? I'm okay with it. I'm still going to stand for what's right. And that's more important to me than anything else.
And arguably more critical now in the positions that we're about to go into than ever.
Yeah.
Well, you are. And
because of your sphere of influence. Right. It's one thing to be honest and develop people. So, if I hearken back to my days when I was a sergeant, it's important, but your sphere of influence is big, right? Small. Your sphere of influence now and the impact that you can have through that honest discourse, right? And just telling people flat chat, hey man, like this is where it is, right? From you asked my opinion, here it is. And letting people kind of get through that.
And there's still a line to it, right? You'd agree with that. It's still it's not, not every angry thought you have needs, like you said, needs to come out. But
some of it you speak it into air, man. It doesn't.
Come here, I need someone to vent to, buddy. But
but and this is something that Ed and I talk on the show often about. It's about like having the right emotional and social intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So am I gonna feel the situation out before I just dive headfirst and I say something, right? Yeah. I'm gonna feel like, let's say any of us, we show up to an organization and we have the boss being the BC, and BC's battalion commander, sometimes brigade commander, depends on where you're working. And they do something, I don't like it. He doesn't know me yet. Can I truly say something right off the bat? Maybe what I'll do is I'm going to bank that. I'm going to data bank that. And then I'm going to get to know him. He's going to get to know me. I'm going to build my trust. And then down the road, I say, hey, sir, remember when we first met, you did this. Yeah, I don't think that's kosher. And maybe I've built enough equity. Ed talks about all the time. He actually taught me about, it's called pay the bill for leadership capital. So what we do is we pay this invisible bill. And it's just a tab, and it's so I've earned leadership capital from the people around me. So what I'm doing is I'm working towards, I'm paying my bill, and now it's time to cash it in. I want to cash it in.
Yeah.
I find that I wish I'd have done that a lot years ago.
What I think a big chunk of this too, and I'll tell you the biggest area I failed was not the thoughts I was having, the words I was saying. It was I didn't have the doctrinal expertise to explain why I was right. And because that other person was a expert in the doctrine, didn't matter if they were using it correctly or not, they were the expert. So I didn't have those crutches, supports, whatever I needed to stand up when it was coming. I could argue all day, disagree all day, but it didn't matter without being a doctrine expert.
So that's something that I learned in 3-2. Right. I guess I probably shouldn't have said that, but
we don't know what 3-2 is.
The benefits of
it's
me
32.
being
32.
The benefits of me being around. Sergeant Major Clemens was. So he has an eidetic memory, right? Things he reads, he can call to mind easy, right?
Hate him.
And I don't have that.
I do too.
That's sarcasm.
But the thing that I really valued out of that experience was if he spoke on things as a matter of fact, because he was in doctrine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've had other senior leaders that have been like, well, I'm not a doctrine guy, right?
Yeah.
I don't read doctrine. I'm not a doctrine guy. But the amount of credibility that he gains by going into a setting, being doctrinally sound and presenting the doctrine to people, because now it's not opinion. It's, hey, here, I'm going to tell you what the book says. Obviously, Commander X, you've got to make a decision, but here's the black and white of it.
This isn't an
right?
opinion. This is
and man, the amount of credibility that, and I'll just speak for myself, right? The amount of credibility he gained with me, and he always used to say this thing, reading's a superpower.
It is,
but it's not. We're all literate, right? The difference is what the superpower really is your willingness to put yourself in enough to tempt yourself enough to actually go in and read what it says.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, you have the credibility and you can maintain that leadership capital, right?
Yeah.
That investment. And then you're relevant in pretty much any context. People may not want to hear it, but it's not you they're arguing against, or they're arguing against the doctrine.
Yeah. So Ken, you brought up something to me, and it's like, we're all getting out. We can't stay in forever, right? We all are going to retire and stuff. And I think about like that going into a civilian organization or working for yourself. Like, what's the correct thing when I'm running my books for my organization? I'm working for someone. Like, how do I know what's right look like? Well, if I didn't get into that employee handbook, or I didn't get into the tax laws on X, Y, and Z. And it's getting to understand that. My question to follow off that is since being a part of this school, do you feel like you've become more aware of doctrine and understanding it? Or do you just kind of like, well, I'm just doing it because I have to type? I mean, and I'm not like, don't put yourself out there, but you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like you know more, guys?
Can I take that one?
Absolutely.
So that was my glaring weakness. Glaring weakness. Like all those intangibles, God's blessed me with them. I got those intangibles, but the actual I didn't want to. Bottom line, I don't care what it says. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But that limited my influence, and I learned that the hard way. It limited also how I was graded at times, which killed me. Because, like, what do you mean? I have the best ASB in the Army. I got the best. This went from 0 to hero.
I disagree. I had the best. I had the best ASB.
We all say that, but bottom line, you understand what I'm saying? How am I being rated this way when our numbers are all the metrics are here? Why? Because I wasn't that doctrine expert. I couldn't explain why this was the right thing to do. Yeah. So that respect level wasn't where it could have been. And that was my own fault. And I did not want to change. Yeah. Coming here and reflecting on that as well has showed me like, okay, dude, you got to grow up. Like this is a grow up moment. Yeah. Like this isn't Matthew's way. Grow up, kid. And that's really, I've definitely learned a lot more. Tried to hold on to where some of this stuff is. Cause man, we're moving 1,000 miles a minute in this. Like I've got 4 things due next week, and I'm done with not done with any of them. Let's just put it like that. You know what I mean?
I want to say 5 because I think we have a discussion post that we still got to do. I
haven't done that one yet. Yeah. But holding on to that knowledge, like it's somewhere there, but it's definitely way more there than it was before. And I know at least which manual I can go look in. And so those are the good things about being forced to do this writing that we're doing is we have to go in and find it. We have to see, reference it, right? It's got to be cited so that we know, okay, we are on the right page. And that's been good. I think it's been really good. I've taken away from here.
What would you guys? What do you think? Doctrine.
I was about to say, I kind of forgot the question.
It happens all the time.
I think the role of the sergeant major has changed significantly in the last 20 years. Like if any, out of any position, I think, or rank, possibly the role of sergeant major has really just been shifted. And I mean, you hear our instructors all the time, we need to get away from that sergeant major. Like, what do you bring to the table as a sergeant major? And one of those is finding yourself in a room full of field grade officers, other, peers, things like that. And if you want to positively influence them, you have to be able to speak that language. And that's where that doctrine comes in. I mean, I'm like you. I mean, at the end of each pod, I'm like, all right, I got this. Halfway through the next, I'm like, it's flushed.
I don't know what. Yeah.
But it is there. It is there. And it's just like anything else. Once you get back into needing it, do a little homework before, sure. I think it'll come back to the front. The cream will rise, whatever you want to say. But if you want to influence those rooms and those paradigms, you need that doctrinal language. You need to at least understand it and be able to talk on that same wavelength. To make it value that of what we're bringing to the table.
So I had a guy that he's reached out to me last week, and he's trying to apply for one of our more special jobs in the Army.
Yeah.
And we kind of got into some banter back and forth, and this has happened a few times in the last probably 10 months now. Is just how much is not understood. Things that I take for granted, that I assume people understand at a certain level. Right. Whether it be doctrine and specifically related to this conversation, I'll stick to that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's kind of crazy that I think as I go through the doctrine and I'm learning what I'm learning, because I probably was in the same boat as you. Right. I mean, I probably did things more off of instinct than
what's right, what's wrong, what feels right and wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I've grown to appreciate is how much influence you can have in an organization through, let's say NCOPDs. Right. And how much of this you can take and share and to help make, whether it's your sergeants or, and keep it contextual to that level. because you're not going to take what we've learned and make it all make sense to somebody that's probably a new sergeant. But you might be able to make a difference and make a dent. Like there's some of this data. I wish I knew it as a sergeant first class.
Oh yeah. We say it all the time, right?
Wait, yeah.
Man.
Like right here.
I'd be so much more
guys
effective.
See this and you'll know exactly
Yeah.
what you said, right? I wish I'd have known this a couple of years ago. And we just did that. We just did an episode, episode 95, where we talked about Mission Command. And I feel like this is something I wish I would have known. Let's just say as a staff sergeant.
Yeah.
Like at least. If I was a sergeant and knew this, man, I'm on top of the world.
So I think going
look at this. There was an out when I was a sergeant.
Yeah. going through this sort of this forced exploration of doctrine, right, has given me an appreciation for how I genuinely think we can make a difference.
Yeah.
By sharing this stuff, right, through specific settings. And maybe we replicate it a little bit, you know. The Army is clearly gearing towards writing. You know, I mean, I'm not a teacher. I'm probably not the strongest person in the world to grade essays, but you know, if it's worked for us, this process,
it worked for other people too.
Yeah. And you know, something you just said, like I sent Brian a text a few days ago, just out of kind of personal frustration with certain things with the Army.
Yeah.
And I don't believe necessarily we're going to influence those above us, but we still have immense influence on those below us. And that's really that's really where I feel like we have an opportunity to make change.
Yeah.
You know, is in who they are, who they realize they can be and what they can influence. Yep. You know what I mean? Because above us, I don't feel like we got much control over anything that's going on. But below us,
probably limited to a degree, but
I mean, honestly, I just don't. But below us, we can give people the strength they don't have coming up in school. They're not being given that individual ability to adjust, to critically think, to make decisions, and to deal with adversity. That's a huge thing I see with soldiers. Cannot deal with the smallest adversities. You know what I mean? And it's giving them that opportunity and also let them know, hey, dude, I've been there. Let me tell you how I've screwed up. Let me tell you how I've been punched in the face.
Yeah.
You know, and it was my fault and I had to deal with it. And because I accepted and moved on, I'm still doing this with my life. I'm still, my wife and I have amazing marriage, you know, whatever the challenges we faced, you know what I mean? And just transparent, like you said, right?
Yeah.
But that influence we can do that. And that, I think that is important. And that's, I think what I hold on to with being in the Army still is that part, like, okay, I still have something to give there. Even though we're moving to the strategic level and everything, we can still, if we can remember, we can still make that the lasting change, I think.
So you brought that up and it made me think. So we think juniors, right? We think the effect we have juniors, but it's funny, you know, a lieutenant, we're literally junior to them, so to speak. However, we can influence that lieutenant. We can influence that, right? And they may become a general one day, right? And they may, but
some of them will.
Yeah. And so I think you have a point there. Like, what if we do create this flow, this wave of influence? Hey, the show's called Instinctive Influencers. So, but we create this influence that does help people see beyond things. Because do you believe that sergeant in Vietnam agreed with the general in charge of Vietnam, Westmoreland? You know what I mean? Like there was, and it's getting to that, like were there conflicts and things in there and the way they thought. Yeah. Like I don't agree with that. You know, everything is said, and I got it. But you're right. Let's affect what we can affect. And often that's probably one of the things I think we miss the mark on, because some people just get so tunnel focused on the other crap, right?
Yeah.
So to speak. Hey, pushing you through here. Leadership philosophy, guys. You didn't do DCL yet.
No.
Yeah, we have. So we're all in the same department too, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. No, don't worry about the flies. Those are free. We give those away. Actually, you'll have a bag of flies when you get outside. I don't know why we have a fly in our house. Like that's the one time.
So one warm place.
So mine's outside. Mine's very easy to wrap up my leadership philosophy, and I've stolen it from Lou Holtz, right? Who used to be a
Lou
coach.
Holtz.
Coach from Notre Dame. Oh yeah. He does. I
think he's in his 90s.
He does announcing. I think he's 85-ish.
Not as much now because he's a little slower.
Yeah, he got that lisp.
But I was really lucky one year. We came back from a deployment at Fort Campbell, and they had free tickets to go to a leadership conference down in Nashville. So I went down there.
My wife went to that one.
Did she?
Yeah, Lou Holtz spoke at it, right?
Yeah. Lou Holtz and
Colin
Powell.
Yep.
Right. So he was there, and Steve Forbes and Bill Cosby, oddly enough, which that whole thing's awful. But the two most impactful for me was Colin Powell and then Lou Holtz. And the first thing that I stole from Colin Powell was he would drive into the parking lot underneath the Pentagon, and the way that you get parked in the Pentagon is all by basically when you get there, right? So they kind of sandwich people into the back, and then you're kind of stuck until that parking lot kind of opens up, and then you're able to get out.
Whoa! You mean like they just basically?
Yeah,
you can't get out if you're in the front.
Yeah. So like if you're the early bird that gets there, right, and they don't like you,
wow,
they'll park you in the back, and you're now stuck until other people leave, right? So he would always get there, and he would treat people with, as he said, dignity and respect, right? He would get there, and he got to know the guys that managed the parking garage. And so they would always take care of him. They'd park him in a good spot, and whenever he wanted to leave, he could, right? So that was very impactful.
Yeah.
And then
I didn't know that.
We're
not giving away secrets
with Lou Holtz. He said when he was coaching his team, it was always do your best, do what's right, do your best, and show people that you care, right? And when he said, do what's right, he said, instinctively, I think people know what right and wrong is, right? So that was pretty transparent. But
some people don't.
But
it feels like
he said doing what's right. He said, I would tell my players as we spend time together this season, I'm going to know what your personal best is. It's ridiculous to talk about doing 110%, right? And so I've kind of changed the narrative over years as I learn about torque in an aircraft, right? I'll say you can't give 110% unless you're talking about torque in an aircraft, right? But what you can do is give your personal best every day, and that personal best might be 80% today. But I'm going to know what that is because I'm invested in you as a person.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about what's distracting you and keeping you away from your personal best. And we're not going to leave the conversation until I figure out what it is. And then when we figure out what it is, then we're going to try to put fixes on that so that we can get you back in the game. That was his philosophy as a coach. And that to me like resonated with me, right?
Yeah.
And then, showing people that you care, right? Investing with people, being authentic, right? Not being fake and being something that's some abortion of a genuine persona, right? Just being real with people, that having that honesty.
Well, when people are fake.
Oh man, it's so transparent.
It's
easy. Right? And when somebody's just giving you lip service, it's like, okay, all right, And so I think for me that's been ever since that conference. I take that in every context, whether I was a platoon sergeant, a first sergeant, I take that in, and if I've got a group of people that I'm supposed to care for, that I hit them with that right out of the gate. These are my expectations, right?
Yeah.
That of us as an organization, because I'm held to the same standard. This is the expectation that this is how we're gonna do business here in this environment, right? We're gonna do what's right. We're gonna do our best to show people that we care, right? And if we do that, we're all gonna get along just fine.
That makes sense. Lou Holtz, 85.
Yeah, man.
85 years old. Yeah. But there's some that are even older.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much my style with that makes that extra flair from Colin Powell. Cause it's, again, if you get to know people, it's amazing what people will do if they think you're invested in them.
Oh yeah. My relationship with my last commander, like we were close, like real close, like no joke. And it's because of the investment we showed each other. So you're exactly wrong. Yeah. So I'll tell you the last question I have on here. I'll tell you what I thought as soon as you started talking about that. Leadership philosophy.
So there's a couple parts to it. I still, even with the assignment in DCL, I put something on paper, but I'm not really sure, how to kind of break it down simply. You don't want it too complicated or too many parts because then no one could remember it when you're trying to talk to. But one is, it's almost identical to yours, servant leadership, which I first learned from Tony Dungy. Yeah. Another fantastic
I like
coach.
Tony Dungy.
Yes. You ever read the book Mentor Leader?
I haven't read his book yet. Yeah. I've heard him speak. I've heard, I've seen YouTube things on YouTube where they did a speech, and what he brings to the table, I was like, no wonder he was a head coach of a world championship team.
Yeah. And just basically the same thing, like investing in people. I mean, if they don't know or believe you have their best interest at heart, I mean, how can you expect anything back?
Yeah.
Because they promise to listen to your orders. I mean, you know what I mean? There, that's, commitment, compliance type things. You know what I mean? But you know, and that's on you to.
What's with the fly?
He keeps landing on my eyes.
I went
from him to me. Now he's over.
He's
to
jealous
you.
of the show. What's up?
He wants his airtime, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, just basically serving leadership that, you know, we have to be invested that in our shoulders.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I get so distracted easy, like a squirrel. No, I get you. And that's, I like that, man. That's,
And then the other parts are conviction. You have to believe in what you're doing. You know, it comes across with the genuineness, with the transparency, but you know, I think we've all known leaders or people that, you know, like they're believers, you know, and when you believe in what you're not doing the job for the paycheck. You're not doing it you're doing it because you know it's right.
Yeah.
That instills that, you know, the right kind of climate and inspires people. But trust, it all starts with trust. You know, you can ask a soldier to do the smallest thing and they if they don't trust you, they won't do it. But if a soldier trusts you, they'll follow you to the gates of hell with water pistols. You know what I mean?
Water pistols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that's it. It's all based on how well they trust you, which starts and also ends with how well you're invested in them.
Yeah.
But then the last thing is just respect. And it's, you know, it's got nothing to do with diversity, color, race, creed, all sex, all that stuff. It's just human beings.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you treat people like they're human beings. And, you know, and that's just respecting with people and everything you do. So that's just kind of the balled up.
You know, and I think, you know, some of the things you said, I guarantee you guys have experienced it just like I have. And with things you said, and we'll get to Matt's too here in a minute. We've seen people that are opposite of what we said. And we've seen what happens with that. We see, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's something that ingrains in my brain. And that's why I do have that, like that faith that if I can help breed or educate, train people in a certain way and a certain mindset, or not tell them how to think or what to think, but just give them an idea of, hey, this is why. Do it the way you think's right down the road, but I'm gonna tell you right now, my way may be the right way or your way. You know, it's just weird, but yeah, leadership philosophy, man. Give us.
So mine is stolen, but
I've
adapted.
stolen.
Yeah. So I had a commander I worked with when I first got to Third ID, and Third ID was my first non-special ops operational aviation job.
Yeah.
So it was a huge adjustment, but it was standards, discipline, motivation, professionalism. If we'll do those things, we'll be great. So, you know, and they each have their own little breakdown that I like to add on to them just so people understand what's included in there. You know what I mean? But if you can execute those, we're going places.
Yeah.
Then just a couple things that are really important to me. I'm a Raider fan, okay? Commitment to excellence. Woo! Commitment to excellence. If you can commit to be excellent.
Maybe I shouldn't have talked about Cincinnati so early.
hey, they went to the next game. You know, if the Raiders would have got that touchdown,
man.
But a commitment to excellence. Like, don't just be the bottom. Like, what's the lowest I can do to pass this PT test?
Yeah.
No, seek to be excellent.
Yeah.
That's not good enough.
Yep.
And then I always preach this. Effort over talent all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Effort over talent.
Right.
I don't care how talented you are. If you're given a half butt job, you're still hurting me because there's so much more that could be done here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're slowing everyone else down too because they're watching you. Well, you're got your feet kicked up and they're still struggling.
Yeah.
Effort. Like, if you're giving me effort and you're you know, back in the old APFT days, the best you can give me is a 240. That's your very top. Man, I see how you're busting your butt. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
The dude who doesn't have to do anything, he still scores a 300. I don't care, man. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And
you go out and sneeze and score a 300. Like, what else you got, man?
That's like that's your natural talent. That's great that you have that. But how are we building on it? So I want effort all day. Anyone who's working their butt off, giving their best, I got so much more respect for them, regardless of what their numbers look like. Do you know what I mean? Because they're giving all they have.
Yep.
You know what? It's funny you brought that up about the 300. I pretty much made somebody mad once because I told them just because you get a 300 does not make you a good leader. I'm like, that doesn't mean, and like he actually got upset, and I'm like, well, let's run the gamut on this. How many people are you helping to get to your same level? How many people are you teaching these things to? Well, I don't have to. They should be able to do that. Well, then are you a leader or are you just somebody who's really good?
I really frustrated our instructors at SLC because they put on an anonymous questionnaire should we bring back the APFT as a condition of graduation? And so I marked no. And I sent it up, and then they just went mental. He was really upset. Well, who in the world said no? I said, well, it was meant to be anonymous, but I'll own it. I said it, right?
Yeah.
Why would you say that? I said, day 0, we showed up. This is senior leader course. Day 0, we showed up. We have a packing list, and there's, we're going to give an exemption over here because they didn't want to bring these items. We're going to give an exemption over here because they didn't want to bring these items, right? At no point in time did we say, gentlemen, this is unsatisfactory. We're all CONUS-based soldiers. None of us were deployed. We'll all have access to AFEs, where we could have purchased that thing we're missing, right? Had we gone through, looked at the packing list, and brought the items, it'd be a different story. But what you're telling me is that in order to determine whether or not somebody has met the requirements to graduate this course is going to be predicated on their performance at this test.
Yeah.
And we've already seen on day 0 that 5 out of the 10 of us have failed. Right. But we've never once addressed it. Not at all.
Yeah.
I take issue with that.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got people in the class that failed multiple tests. They've got an opportunity to go back and retest. Again, these are things that we could change the standards on to help figure out who needs to be advanced and who needs to be held back. But we're not doing that. And I refute the idea that just because you're a good runner, that means you're a good leader.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Right. It goes back to effort. If you're not giving out the best effort, just because you can naturally run a 12:50, that doesn't mean you know how you're invested. It doesn't even mean you're invested in the organization.
Yeah.
Right. It literally just highlights you're a good runner.
Yeah.
And so, it was kind of funny, anecdotal, but funny.
It is. I mean, that actually is good. So mine is action. I've had this for a few years. The philosophy, it basically goes down. So it's accountability of people and equipment. Then it's communication. So I'm always going to communicate. Training is important to us as that's what our job is. Like, is a non-commissioned officer important for training. Then I go into integrity. I almost flipped the letters because I can't spell. So integrity in everything we do, right? Everything you do, because we are seen all the time. We're always under a microscope, no matter what. A soldier can walk in and out of a building without a hat, but that one time that senior leader does it, it's like, oh, I can't believe, So
and everybody in the formation will know about it by the end of the day.
Yep, everyone will know. O's ownership. So some people confuse accountability with ownership. To me, it's a difference. So I want to be accountable of my people and equipment, but I want to have ownership of all mission tasks and responsibilities. And then the final one, you guys may you understand when we start off in the NCO creed, it starts with no one, right? So the final one it says no one, but it means no one will get in my way. No one will fail me. No one will be the one to basically destroy my life. I'm going to be the one that controls all that, that type of thing. But so we're kind of rounding out the show. We're kind of getting towards the end here. And what I wanted to get into was, what does the Army look like for you? No, I'm sorry. What does life look like for you after the Army? And I guarantee, like some of you I know already, but what does what life look like after the Army, Matt?
You want me to start?
Go. Yeah, I know, because I kind of know yours, but I want to make sure I'm right.
Oh man. So something my wife and I talk about, and we talk about it more and more, and it's very important. Freedom. We need freedom. My wife's a teacher, so she was a soldier. That's how we met.
Many moons.
Yeah.
And freedom from your kids?
No. I can't wait to be a grandparent. I know this is off track. Yeah. I can't wait to be a grandparent. I mean, I can to a certain degree, but I can't because I wasn't there to raise my kids the way I want to be. Yeah. And I miss that. And like I said, they're growing. So that's honestly, there's an emotional toll with that. And I need that opportunity. It's important. But freedom from things I disagree with, but I do because I'm a soldier.
Yeah.
Freedom from someone telling me what to do when, you're not the smartest, person I've ever met. Like what you're saying is wrong and you're not listening.
Yeah.
Freedom from someone else telling me my hours, what's my priorities are when I know what my priorities are. Just freedom from the establishment in general. Yeah. So yes, we're going to, even this year, we're pushing hard to grow our business, both on the Airbnb side and on the long-term rental, so we're looking to have that passive income coming in. We're looking, like we said, we're going to be opening a coffee shop in the future. I have the property already for it.
Yep.
We're looking at buying beverage truck. So that way, if I'm not where that property is, we can still continue that business moving forward. My wife can do cakes. She's a professional bodybuilder in her spare time. Believe it or not, she's got her pro card, so she can do training. She can get her trainer certificate. My kids, I'm sitting my daughter right now is going through SCAD, and she's getting her interior design degree, so her and dad can work together and we can do things. So I mean, the process is there, and ultimately, what we want to do when the Army part is hung up is we want to buy us a farm with property where we can put all the houses on, and the kids can live there with their families as well. And we'll have that freedom. We'll have our our plants, our animals, that stuff, so that if God forbid whatever happens in the future, we're getting towards that self-sustaining.
Yeah.
And that's what freedom is to me there, is just being able to go when I want to go. Do obviously within reason what you want to do. I'm not saying like I want to go burn down something, you know what I mean? But well, I get to make that choice. My wife and I get to make that choice, and then we're not dependent on something else. We've created our own independence, and we're able to, live high off the hog, or if we have to, kill our own cow or something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So high off the cow too.
That's what my picture looks like.
Marcus, what's the life after the Army look like for you?
So we have a house outside Savannah as well. I love that area. Out of all the places been, definitely going to retire there. Got some acreage, but the plan is do 8 more years. Retired pretty much after
30?
they force
you doing 30? Yeah,
I'm shooting until they kick me out.
Me too.
I mean, and like I said, never had any kids. Good with finances. My mortgage will be paid off in a couple of years, and her kids are out of the house, so we should be able to retire after, right when we hit 30. Like not have to work anymore.
Right.
And the goal is to buy a 5th wheel. That's why I got my big truck. So that'll be paid off.
Well, you both have a big truck. I've seen both of them over there.
Yeah. She's got one too.
Yeah.
And then travel like 6 months out of the year. Winter down in Savannah. She's already got a grandson, believe it or not. And maybe during the summer we go. If it works out, so we'll start taking the grandkids with us as we're RVing.
That's cool.
So
I wish I had that. Like, can you imagine like if you were a kid again, like you had like a grandparent that took you around the country?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, right.
That is like that would. I don't know, man. Like now that I'm seeing stuff as an adult, I'm like, man, I wish I'd have seen this sooner.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
Like what you said about your buddy, like that dude's living free right now, and his kids are still getting an education that you're not going to get in a classroom. Like,
you
you're
can't.
just not. You're getting life, and you're getting the standard part of it.
Highway therapy.
How can you trade that? You just can't trade that.
You can't.
It's the name of his thing, and I'll plug him all day long because he's great. I don't think he does advertise anything, but Highway Therapy, great. Gary's his name, Gary Mead. I served in Afghanistan with him, but yeah, just unbelievable. Hey, that awesome, man.
Yeah.
Current, I guess yours. Because you've been doing a really good job so far that I noticed. You guys have too. I put right here, motivational speaker.
Okay.
No,
that's interesting.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. So I don't know. I probably not that. I certainly haven't planned that.
Yeah.
The current plan right now is I'm going to do 2 things in synchronization. So my brother started a business. He worked in the pharmaceutical industry for about 35 years and had enough of it.
Woo!
Yeah. So he worked.
Did you see him flare up? Like I heard his nose go.
So he did very well. He got up to where he was managing the marketing division for one of the major companies,
right,
in their oncology division.
Okay.
And he just got to the point where he said, you know what, I want that freedom Matt was talking about, right? I want some of that freedom. So he decided he opened up a franchise, and so he's going to try to expand that over the next, probably 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And if the conditions are right, then the current plan is I'm going to exit the Army and go join him.
Nice.
And we're going to do that together. And if we can expand it, then we're going to expand it and try to get that as solid as possible. But while that's going on, because you always got to have backups. My current plan is, as we get closer, probably about 2 years before I think I need to get out, I want to do my PMP certification and then try to look at if things don't work out and and the business wasn't as successful as we thought it was, I'll have a fallback plan to where I can go through and just do project management for whoever I can get on with, really. Because I mean, that's really what we do pretty much.
Yeah.
Most of our lives, as soldiers, we've at certain echelons, we've managed projects, whether it's phase on an aircraft or you're talking about, different deployment operations you've gone on. You've managed that thing from start to finish. So it's natural. It's something that I think, speaks directly to what I could put on a resume. So we'll do that, get a house, and I still want the RV life.
I'm telling you, man.
Because I think it just really speaks to me, right? Like, homeschool the kids, get on the road, go out there, see as much of the country as you can. And give them that life, because
it's appealing. It's so appealing. Man.
It's something that I think would be awesome, but we'll see. I'm not, I'm blessed to have a job. I graduated with, I came in the Army with a high school degree, and I wasted a lot of time as a younger soldier. I think I've talked about that early in the show. Wasted a lot of time, and didn't really invest in myself as much as I should have.
Yeah.
And now I've got more clarity on that. I can see what, some of the errors of those ways. And so I think, just looking at it, hopefully, those plans will help get into that space where we're going to have that freedom and go out and just kind of try to enjoy life. And
it's remarkable, right? Like that we can look back and like, man, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd done that. But now, I mean, what I kind of take from it, though, in a sense, is like, well, we still each have a little bit of time we're going to give, right? So why not like pass that on? And will they listen? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Who knows?
Like
someone will.
Yeah, I don't care if they won't, but I'm at least going to offer it up.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to be here where I'm at right now, and then we'll see. And
I am too. Believe me.
If the tea leaves say, "Hey, man, you know what? You've taken this thing as far as you can take it, and it's time for someone else to take it on." I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I've made peace with it. I honestly thought I would have retired as a sergeant first class, to be honest.
That's what I thought.
And it's I'll leave religion out of it, but I think there's some influence that has placed me where I'm at, and I'm grateful. I'm thankful. I'm going to do my best with what I've got, and then we'll see how it plays out. And it's time. I will leave with the only regret that I'll leave with is that I think there are certain instances where I could have done better by some of the people that I served with. Right.
Yeah.
I think I could have done more in my personal investment to them.
Yeah.
And that's a regret I don't think I'll be able to ever shake. I can just try to use that to generate change in myself in the future. But other than that, man, I've got no regrets. I've had a great time in the Army and met awesome people.
Oh yeah. That has been the fun part for me, is meeting all the different people. And it's funny you say that, like, regrets or you wish you would have done something for people before. So I had a sergeant major. I was recruiting. I went recruiting for 3 years in Ohio, and I had this one sergeant major. I know his last name, but I can't remember his first name. Anyway, he called me. He'd already retired. He'd already been retired for 3 years. So that would have been, I got an 2011. He calls me. Just happened to be, I was home back from a deployment, getting ready to go on another one. And he started telling me, "Hey man, I totally just wanted to call you up and say thank you for all the hard work you did, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, yeah, this is weird. Like, I felt a little weirded out for a moment. I'm like, why would he? And then I just thought, you know what? Maybe he's just coming to the realization I needed to contact certain people. And from what I understood, he did. Yeah. Like, there were some other people that were in that same battalion I was a part of. And I reached out and I was like, "Hey, I got a call." And then like, I did too. It's weird. So it's funny. We can do that. Guys, I just want to say, like, I totally enjoy getting together. I've had some goosebump moments while we were sitting here, and you can't see it. That's why I wear the long sleeves. I enjoy the talk, and it's something that Ed and I are trying to start adding in a little bit here and there, where we get more people on, because it's nice to hear other experiences, other thoughts, things like that. So first thing is, I want to thank you so much for coming in today in this somewhat of a studio. No,
thanks for the invite, man.
It's
cool.
It's good times. But with that, I always have to close out the show a certain way. If you are trying to connect, you can meet. I know all these guys are on Facebook, so if you know them or don't want to know them, don't friend them. If you're looking to connect with the Instinctive Influencers, just go on to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That's a big one. And just type in 101 Influence. Now, YouTube, you just type in Instinctive Influencers and you'll find us. And that's where you'll see this show. But you'll see it if you're listening, you'll see a little link underneath in the show notes. You can click on it. It'll take you straight to the YouTube page. And you can watch and see these guys as they talk through different things. One of the cool things, Marcus and I, he's actually made a few comments on the show, on the page. So it's kind of like, oh man, I finally get to bring him into the fold a little bit. Matt, I've been wanting to bring into the fold. I just had to figure it out and make sure I kind of put I'm just saying a leash. No, I'm joking. No. Matt is a very, like, when you get to know Matt, guys, very opinionated. And that's what I love. We go hiking. We've gone hiking a few times and I just listen. Like, I'll just listen to him. And he tells me all these things. And I'm just like, man, I just listen and I don't mind. And I like what he's teaching me. Like, cause he was teaching me some stuff about realty / rentals. I'm like, oh, it starts.
That's cool.
But thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. With that, Ed is obviously not here, so we're going to just close the show without Ed telling you about where you can find us. If you do search for us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or you look at us on YouTube, hey, let us know what you think. Put it in the comments. It's fine. We don't mind. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And with that, then it starts some music at some point, and then I can close the show out. There it is. But with that, I am Brian, and Ed is still in Germany. We get to hear about where he's going next, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, because I already know where he's going. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.